Welcome to The Right Question. I'm Daphne Gray-Grant. Today I'm giving advice on how to eliminate verbal tics. I have a question from Mike Hernandez, who's based in San Diego, California. Here's what he asked. I know a person who ends almost every sentence with a uh-huh or I thought it might be due to a very emotional, traumatic event he went through when he was in his early 20s, about the time it started. In addition to being very aware of it and practicing not making the sounds, do you have any other advice to help stop it? Thanks for the question, Mike. In addition to being a professional writer and editor, I'm also a debate coach at my local high school, and that's the experience I'm going to be calling on to answer your question. I've worked with dozens of students over the last 10 years, and I don't think it matters how these verbal tics arise. You might be right in your friend's case that they stemmed from some sort of emotional trauma, but I've seen ums and ahs to beat the band with no precipitating event at all. More often, I think, it's just a bad habit. And like all habits, it takes some diligence to get rid of it. The first thing the speaker needs is to be aware of the problem. Does your friend realize that he's falling back on verbal tics and that they're annoying his listeners? If not, the first step is to generate awareness. One of the best ways to accomplish this is to persuade him to record himself so he can hear how terrible he sounds. Note that I don't suggest this to embarrass him, simply to make him aware. Make this suggestion kindly and with great tact. You might also want to point out that there are many successful people who make exactly the same mistake. My favorite example is the current Prime Minister of Canada. In the description below, I provide a link to a YouTube video in which Justin Trudeau uses the word 50 times in just over a minute. That should make your friend feel better. Be aware that some people also have visual tics. They may sway when they speak. They may flip their hair. They may jingle coins in their pocket. If you have a friend with these types of habits, you may suggest videotaping rather than just voice taping. I judged a debate competition last weekend, and I saw a young woman twisting an elastic on her hand while she was speaking. It was incredibly distracting, but I'm sure she didn't even realize she was doing it. After you've identified the problem with the person, then you can deal with it, but be aware that this is a long-term project. I had a big problem with my own speaking style. I used to say and ah a lot, and I've been working diligently for the last 2 years now to remove those tics from my vocabulary. I am much better than I used to be, but still not perfect. Do I get discouraged that it's taken me 2 years so far? No, I know I'm so much better than I used to be. I wish the process were faster, but it isn't, and I'm continuing to work on it. If your friend is really concerned about his problem, he might want to consider joining an organization like Toastmasters. They are really good at helping speakers combat such issues. One of the tricks they use is they have someone in the audience who claps or makes a noise whenever the speaker says or ah. Believe me, this technique is very effective. I've included a link to the Toastmasters website below. But probably the biggest secret I can give your friend is to slow down his speaking style. Western society dislikes silence. I think we fear it makes us look stupid or inarticulate. But if your friend can increase his comfort with silence, then he can use that time to think about what he wants to say before he actually says it. Generally, we say or ah to give ourselves time to think. Instead of doing that, use silence to perfectly craft the sentence before the words even come out of your mouth. Silence is not only okay, it's a great device for emphasis and for getting attention. And it's certainly far superior to or ah. Finally, let me wrap up with a quote from the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. Silence is a source of great strength. Thanks for the question, Mike. If your friend can become more comfortable with silence, I'm sure he'll be able to deal with his verbal tics.